So if anybody's watching, we're live and coming up in just a few minutes, getting our tech lined up. I'm not sure if we're going to be on Facebook or not, but if we are, I'll share it to my Facebook page as well. Policy and politics.
All right.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello there, Aria Juliet Castillo. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Gary?
I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. It's how can you not be? We're really blessed. Each of us need to always remind ourselves of that in spite of our challenges, of economic challenges and other challenges that we have personally and as a community, we are truly blessed to be able to live and in here in Hawaii. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think we have to always remember that and always be defending that right and working extra hard because of our privilege. Uh, yeah, thank you. Are we going to be on Facebook or I don't know
We're
if
we're
we
live
are?
on Facebook. We're live on YouTube.
Okay, so I'm gonna look at my phone real quickly. I know you scolded me last time, but do I share it from your page or from pub?
Yes. We're still
Okay,
working out the kinks. So right now it should be live on my page. You can share it to the policy and politics page as well. And you can always rewatch it on YouTube or on our Facebook page. And very shortly, we will also have our RSS feed go live as well. So the audio can be listened to in wherever you get your podcasts, which is, I
cool.
know a lot of people have been asking for that. This isn't the best visual medium. I think it's more of an audible medium for now, but we're trying to get those in the hands and ears of people that want it the most.
Yeah, and we're volunteers. We talked about that Bixby Ho is waving at us. So hello, Bixby. Nice to see you again. Yeah, I got it streaming now on Facebook as well. Yeah, we're the whole disclaimer. Ari and I are just doing this because we want to help our community, make the world a better place, and we're not getting paid for it. We're volunteers. We both work with various organizations, but none of those organizations are officially involved in this program. It's just Ari and I doing the best we can to share the information and experience that we've gained over the years. We first started working together. We've known each other your entire life. I'm not going to talk about being old, but uh, but we've been working together for 25 years at least. It seems like one way or the other.
Seems like it, yeah. And I just have so much gratitude throughout the years for all the guidance and mentorship you've given me, all the projects that we've worked on together, Kuleana Academy. We had our 8th cohort open this weekend. You were lucky enough to be able to join us for a little bit of that weekend. Kuleana Academy, for those that don't know, is a candidate training program for people who are interested in running for public office. It's put on by HAPA, Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action, who I work for as the Reclaiming Democracy Program Director. And Gary was the founder of HAPA.
Thank you. One of several founders, including yourself, some 11 years ago or so, and I'm very proud of that involvement. And HAPA is such a great organization. And the Kuleana Academy is a flagship leadership candidate training program. I know just started the most recent cohort, and there was 18 people or so, or 20 people, 23 from across every island, and we teach people or coach people and talk about leadership training and candidate development issues and policy and politics. It's really a pleasure to be part of, and it's inspirational just to be part of that group. So thank you, Aria, for that work.
So what are we talking about tonight?
Well, what happened to me a week ago or so, I went to Honolulu, and I go over every couple of weeks. I live on Kauai, and I meet with friends and new people. And I met with a friend in Kaimuki, and he introduced me to a young woman like you who worked in his shop. And she asked me what I did, so I told her. And I said, you know, I'm looking for people like you to get more involved in politics. And she literally cringed. She pulled back. She said, "Politics? I don't think so. You know, I believe in being involved. I pick up litter on the beach. I'm part of the community, but politics is basically too ugly and too dirty and too complicated, and I want no part of it." And so that struck me, and I felt like shaking her or hugging her. I didn't either. But you know, it's that we need people to be more involved, and so that's what we're going to talk about today: is how important it is for regular people, people like that young woman, and people that are in the community to be involved and to make things happen.
You know, something I've recently realized about myself is that politics is literally my hobby. It's something that I enjoy doing. I do manage to get paid for it a little bit, but I also do it out of love and interest, and just the whole world is fascinates me. So I think there is ways that you can get involved that aren't dirty, aren't ugly, that are inspiring, that bring joy to you. So we're going to talk about some of those ways that we can jump
Yeah,
in.
yeah, and you know, the looking at, I like to say that we get the government we deserve, or we participate. You know, we have to own it. We have to be responsible for it as voters, as individual citizens. And I did some research and looked at the last primary election, and I knew the voting turnout in Hawaii was poor, was weak, but I was really shocked to see um, about 31%, 31% of registered voters showed up in 2024 for the primary. That means 70% of the people stayed home. And you know, Ari, it's worse than that. These are registered voters. Only half the people are registered. So that means, you know, 10 or 15% of the population are making the decisions for everybody else.
And since 2020, Hawaii has had mail-in voting. So every registered voter gets a ballot in their mail. Your taxpayer dollars pay for it. They pay for the self-addressed stamp envelope that you can return it in. There really is legitimately no excuse why you can't fill out the ballot. There are some reasons why people opt not to, or desire not to. I think one of the biggest problems that Hawaii has in terms of people not wanting to vote is there's no choice to vote for. So why would it matter if every single race in your ballot has just one circle on it?
I can speak to that for a second. Okay, so if leave your ballot blank, and for that particular seat, if your senator or House member or congressman, you don't like them, don't just pick somebody, but leave it blank. That blank vote sends a huge message to future candidates. I mean, if there's a difference between the two, vote for the better of the two. There's no question about that, I think. But if you're not sure, or if there's only one person running, and you know, leave it blank, and that'll send a message. You know, if there's some of these candidates have 20%, 30% or more blanks, and they're the only person running, so that sends a message to a challenger. Hey, this person may be vulnerable. And at the end of the day, the reason I got involved in politics in 1996 or 4 or some godforsaken year, that's a while back, was because I went looking for somebody else to run. I asked my friends, you know, why don't you run? We need somebody to run. And they said, no, Gary, you're crazy. You run. And I said, no, I can't win. And they said, well, I'll help you. So I ran, and I lost my first race. And then I ran again later and won. I think Councilmember Keone Rollins Fernandez, I'll never forget what she says. She says, you know, Gary, she says, one day I looked over my shoulder. I looked to the left. I looked to the right. Nobody's there. Look behind me. Nobody else wants to run. I'm going to do it. And she stepped up. And it's an amazing experience to do. It's very fulfilling in my opinion, my experience. And so I encourage people, if you've got roots in the community, you have to have roots, really. If you have roots in the community and you have solid values and you want to make a difference, consider running for office or joining another campaign and helping. Other reasons, you know, people might not vote is what? They're busy.
They say that they're too busy. They're not educated enough on the issues. Um, those are really common things that I hear a lot of people say. They say that doesn't make a difference. We know that's not true. We've seen so many races over the last couple of years that have been down to 10 votes, 20 votes, either way. And that every single vote really does count. And it's really unfortunate when that happens and a really great candidate misses out by 10 votes.
And what I do, and I like to think I'm a pretty experienced guy, but if I'm not sure about a race, I'll see what are my friends in the Sierra Club saying. If environment's one of my main issues, I check with the environmental community. Who are they endorsing? If it's economic justice, I check with the Appleseeds of the world, Hawaii Appleseed, or with HAPA. Not every organization endorses candidates. Okay. HAPA doesn't endorse candidates. Gary Hooser does. And a lot of people will ask me directly, who am I supporting? And I'll encourage them to do their homework, but I'll tell them, if I live in that district, this is who I'd vote for. So if you have a hard time making a decision, check with people you respect around the community on those issues.
Yeah. And I just want to say, it can be really intimidating to step out and run for office. And it seems like there's no way that you can run. But even having a challenger forces a conversation that needs to happen for the community. Chun James ran against Mayor Blangiardi, and he didn't have any challengers. And she was the only one who would step up and said, this is not okay. We need to have a choice. Unfortunately, in that big of a race, the major news outlets kind of just dismissed her as a fringe candidate, which is really unfortunate. They didn't allow them to have any real debates, but she put herself out there. She brought out her message, and she did give voters a choice. And, in smaller races like House races or county council races, that can make a huge difference. Even just forcing the conversation and asking questions. Because in my opinion, running for an office every 2 years, you're not really running against someone, you're running for that seat. So if there is an incumbent in the seat already, they're required every 2 years or every 4 years to reapply for that seat. So you have just as much as a right to apply for that seat as well. And candidates, incumbents should not feel offended. They should feel honored and privileged that they get to go out to their community and campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And competition's a good thing. No one should be offended by that. And it's a year from now. A year from now, people will be filing their papers and getting ready for the August primary. So in August, a year from now, a lot of these races are going to be decided, because in Hawaii, the primary is very, very important. And yeah, people need to get on board, and anyone offline after this show's over, or you're welcome to give me a call if you want to talk story. I'd be happy to talk to you privately. I don't promise my support to anyone really at this early in the game, but I'm happy to talk to people. I encourage people to run because competition is a good thing. So, and because the legislative session, like you mentioned this briefly, a candidate running against an incumbent moves the needle. So those legislators in the state legislature and on the council who have issues before them and an election before them will think about that election before they vote. And usually we'll get better legislation, better in my perspective, coming out right before an election, because people are concerned. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to get reelected. I'll say that for the record. I served 16 years. I loved it. I wanted to get reelected every time. And so it's okay to want to be reelected, but the public, the people, need to exercise their leverage, if you would, and push these legislators to do the right thing.
So running for office might be a little bit big of a step for people. What would be the first thing that you can do? Back up a little bit. If you're just ready, okay, I'm ready to get involved. What's the first thing that we do?
The very first thing is know who represents you. I am continually amazed at people, sometimes highly educated professionals, when I'll ask them, who's your representative? Who represents your district? And they'll tell me Brian Schatz. And I'll say, no, Brian Schatz is a U.S. Senator. He's not a representative. Who represents the district you live in? And they won't know. So do a little bit of homework. Google is your friend. Just put it out there. Because that person who represents you, you vote for. So you can run against that person. That the person who represents you in your district, the representative or senator or whoever, can't do their job without your support. And so in the hierarchy of influence, there's people everywhere, right? So if I'm a state senator and I get a call or an email from California on an issue, it goes in the box. If I get a call or email from somebody who lives in my district, it goes to the top of my desk. If I get 10 of those calls, I stand up and pay attention. And I'm very careful about how I'm going to vote, how I'm going to deal with it. I look at this issue closer. So know who your representative, who your state senator is, have their phone number and your email on your phone and in your refrigerator, and reach out to them.
So we have our U.S. representatives, our senators, and our U.S. Congress people.
Right.
We have our state senators and state representatives, and we also have county council members.
That's right. That's right.
I did some research to try and find what the best way is, and I tried out a bunch of different options. There's the Calco app that's put out by the PRP. There's obviously the county council and the state government websites, capital.hawaii.gov, where you can look and find your lawmakers. But the best resource that I saw actually is commoncause.org. Find your representative. If you Google commoncause.org, find your representative, I think it'll pop up for you. And they gave me a list of everybody from the top of the list, from the president all the way down to my county council member, which all the other ones didn't do. They also gave me my OHA representatives, which are unfortunately a little bit ignored when we talk about the political process, but they're very important people to have and communicate with.
That's right. And I cannot tell you how many times when I was serving in public office in the Senate, I'd get emails from people telling me vote yes, vote no, and it wouldn't even have their name on it. It would have surferjoe@gmail.com. And so rule number one, put your name, and if you live in the district, which you should hopefully, say I live in your district, and put your street name at least and the zip code, and let them know you live in the district. It's just, I can't overemphasize how important that is. If you are dealing with a U.S. congressperson, senators, or representatives, they have a much greater volume of email and calls coming in. So it's hard to get to know them personally. The same with the governor, it's hard. But they still have staff that count those emails, with vote yes, vote no, to give them a sense how the community is feeling. In the local legislature and in your council, for most councils anyway, the districts are small enough where you can actually get to know your state representative. You can call your state representative outside of the session and say, I live in your district. I'd love to get together with you and maybe a few of my neighbors, but myself, and talk story and share some concerns with you. And they should meet with you. There's no question about that. The same with the state senate. So I encourage people, get to know them, and then your name goes up in the priority list in your voice. It gets stronger. So when you when you show up to testify, they say, he lives in the district. I've gotten a couple of emails from him, and they're going to pay more attention. No question about it. That's the first thing. Know who represents you. And when you communicate with them, that should be your first communication. Let them know I live in your district. And then you go from there.
What should they do? Should they call them? Should they write them an email? Do people read these emails?
I would say, a lot of people say, Gary, does it really matter if I send an email in? And I say, absolutely, it does. It matters the most to the person who represents you, but every email is going to matter to a certain extent. Even if it just says in the subject line, please support or please oppose, and then it talks about the issue. Even if it's not a long one, just a short one, it matters. 10 matter more than 1, 100 matter more than 10. So volume is important. I would say the easiest way to communicate, it would be by email, but then also by phone. I found on hot button issues, you'll get an answering machine or a staff member. You're not going to get the legislator. And you can just be nice to everybody. Don't be mean or nasty or lose your temper or whatever, but be professional and courteous. And say, I'm just calling Representative so-and-so. I live in the district. Here's my name. And I'd like to encourage him to oppose or to support this issue. If you call after hours, which is a little secret, you'll get voicemail. And so that's sometimes easier. And normally the staff will be tallying these. They'll be keeping track of the yeses and the nos. And again, every legislator, not most, everyone wants to keep their job. So they want to pay attention to which way the wind's blowing, regardless of how they feel about the issue. They may not be an expert on the issue. It may be a subject matter they're not even familiar with. But when they start getting emails or phone calls pushing them in a certain direction, they're going to start paying attention more and be more susceptible to going in that direction. Politicians, and it's not a bad word, they want to avoid controversy. They really do. They want to be on the right side of the public and the right side of the issues.
There's other ways to contact your lawmakers as well. All of them should have a campaign website with a campaign email and a campaign phone number. And if they're not monitoring it, one of their campaign volunteers should be. And of course, with social media, they should have a campaign page as well as an official rep page. And you can communicate with them through both of those avenues as well. And someone should be getting back to you. And if they don't deserve to have their job.
That's right. That's right. And when they do deserve, when you find one that calls you back, that shares your values and appreciates your input, help them. Show up when they're running for office. Hold signs with them. Knock on doors with them. If you have money, donate money to their campaigns. Talk about hierarchy of values. Now you not only live in the district, but you know them personally and you're helping them. And I used to tell people, I'm not going to go to jail for this guy holding signs for me, but I'll do what I can to help him, right? I'm not going to violate my principles. But you can bet if somebody's out in the hot sun knocking on doors for Gary Hooser, I'm going to answer their phone calls and return their emails and do what I can to support them. So get involved. And it's fun. You meet people. It's really good. For someone who's interested in politics, thinking about running themselves, that's a great entry-level point, is to be helping other candidates.
Okay, so I wanna contact my lawmaker, but what do I talk to them about? What's going on right now?
Well, right now the session's over. The legislative session is over. There's stuff on every council that's going on right now. I know on Kauai, the budget's underway. And then the governor now is looking at bills to either sign or veto that have passed by the legislature. So what I do and what I would encourage people watching to do is I'm on the email list for a newsletter for ACLU Hawaii, the Sierra Club, HAPA, and a few other places. And they're doing email blasts right now. Call Governor Green, email Governor Green, and then they'll give you talking points. Because we can't all be experienced and know the ins and outs of all these issues, but the organizations do their homework, and I trust them, quite frankly. I mean, I don't use them if I didn't trust them. Sierra Club, ACLU, Common Cause, HAPA, and others. And even if it don't use all the talking points, even if he says, please veto this bill, and you describe it to him, and that's enough. That adds value.
I think those are great organizations. Sierra Club obviously is really strong on environmental justice, water rights. They were really, really instrumental in warning us about Red Hill long before the federal government or anyone actually took real action to fix that. The ACLU, they're doing a reimagining public safety campaign right now, where they're trying to stop the big jail from being built on Oahu County. Hawaii Appleseed, they talk about tax fairness. I know that's kind of a big, heady issue for many people, but they kind of break it down and make it more accessible. HAPA, of course, Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action, they talk about pesticides and public health, food sovereignty, food security, and good governance campaigns as well. Aina Momona is another I want to shout out for environmental health, sustainability through Occupying Hawaii. And Kaneo Kana is a Hawaiian language and culture and Aina-based action Instagram page that puts out a lot of educational material and a lot of action items for people, not just at the state legislature, but also at the counties. And then other things like the DLNR hearings, those require actions. Those aren't state legislation alerts.
Right. And I'll give a shout out to Huli Pack on the Big Island. Huli Pack is doing really good work. They're covering issues, local issues, state issues, national issues, or Hawaii. So wherever you live, there are people, and get involved. I mean, at the minimum, get on their email list, but get involved. I'll give a shout out to Huli Pack again. I know a lot of organizations will endorse candidates and then kind of let go. You know, you still may lobby them to do stuff, but HuliPAC is having post-legislative session interviews with some of their endorsed candidates and asking them straight up, you know, we thought you supported this or we thought you supported that, and yet you didn't. How come? And giving the candidate an opportunity to respond and give their reasons why. So I think that's a good trend that other organizations, including myself, I'm not an organization, but I'll support someone and then shrug my shoulders and move on sometimes, instead of saying, hey, you know, whatever, Bill, Sally, Sue, tell me why you voted this way or why you didn't vote that way. But there's a lot of great organizations. They need help. Maui Tomorrow, another good organization.
You can't rely on the algorithm. You can't rely on your friends to send you stuff. I know you all have friends that are like, hey, Arya, pay attention to this, invite you to that. You need to follow it yourself.
That's
so
right.
you're getting the information directly fed to you, so you don't miss out on anything.
Yeah, I encourage people to you know, do your homework if you can. And I understand if you can't, and all you can do is send a short email because some organization told you to. That's better than doing nothing. And another thing you can do is get behind those people that do have the time. So if you're on social media and you see one of these organizations promoting a webinar or promoting action alert, hit like, just like it and share it. So that changes the algorithms or impacts the algorithms. So it helps that organization. That's the easiest thing to do. Just like and share. And then if you can send those emails, I can't tell you how many people tell me, Gary, does it really matter? And I'm here to tell you, yes, it does. You know, direct your attention first toward that policymaker who represents you in your district first. And make sure you tell them, I live in your district. After that, you can graduate to the broader, whoever's chairing the committee, whoever's on the committee. If your legislator's not on the committee, that's okay. They're still got to vote on it later. And they should know that their district is happy or unhappy with that issue. So that's job one, is get to know your legislator by name, get them to know your name. I'll tell you another little secret. As a former elected official, one thing everyone is afraid of is having an unhappy constituent standing out on the corner on the highway with a sign that says, Hoosier didn't call me back, or Hoosier voted the wrong way, or something like that. So, yeah, and get to know them, support the ones you like. If the ones you don't like, the ones that are voting contrary to your values, find someone else to run and help them.
Okay, so I know my lawmakers. I signed up for the action alerts. There's a protest on Wednesday. Do I have to go?
Yes. You have to go. I mean, all of us can't do everything. You need to do as much as you can. Let's say a hearing also, you know, the Pohakaloa hearing that they didn't pass. They rejected the EIS. The room was full of people, and only one person's testifying at a time, but the room is packed. Outside the door, it's packed. That sends a huge message. So showing up at hearings, even if you're not going to testify, just showing up, sitting with the people that are testifying, go to those protests, be part of the physical body that's there. And I found it fun, quite frankly. You know, you see people you haven't seen in a long time, you meet new people, and most of these organizations are welcoming people. I'd say all of them are, to join them, to be part of the conversation, to show up at other meetings if you want, but at least show up, hold a sign, bring a sign if you can, but just show up with your body. They're happening everywhere. I know the 15th, I think, is a big day. Everywhere there's going to be protests because our president, whose name shall not be mentioned, his birthday is that day. And it's no secret that those on the screen today are in opposition to his administration. But there'll be protests on every issue. What's that?
Especially him throwing himself a big birthday party parade.
Yeah.
Especially against that. I also think it makes a difference when all of these hearings, all of these community meetings, all of the legislative hearings, all the council meetings are all streamed online. And people pay attention to how many people are watching those hearings online. Even if you can't attend because you're at work or you're driving or something, you can have those streaming, you can listen in to make sure that you understand what's happening, and then so they know that people are actually watching, people are actually listening.
That's right. It makes a difference. I'll tell you, every politician wants to keep their job. They love it. It's an honor. It's a privilege. It's a way to help people. And if the wind's blowing one way, if it's blowing against an issue really hard, or for an issue really hard, that politician, that policymaker is going to stand up and listen and really consider their vote based on that to a great extent. But if people sit back and don't say anything, then the people that are saying things, the corporations, the people with money, the people that can afford lobbyists to go to the room, that's where the pressure is. Oh my goodness.
How do we help our friends who are doing good work? How do we support and show up for them?
It's again, the tools we have are mainly our voices. I wrote something, and I mentioned it at that great HAPA event, the Kuleana Academy event the other day, that I was fortunate in my political career. Very early on, there were some very hard votes, tough votes, where I voted against a room full of carpenters and the big money, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm never going to get reelected. This is, but I can't support this. And nothing but good stuff happened. People told me thank you. People said, Gary, right on for doing the right thing. I knew it was hard, but you did the right thing, and so I'm glad I voted for you. So when you have your representative who represents you and others, when they do the right thing, reach out and tell them thank you. Reach out and tell people, legislators who are willing to raise their hand for you. Make sure you tell them personally thank you. That'll make them feel good. That'll make them know that they did the right thing. Promote them on social media. Get other people to tell them thank you. And I call it a positive feedback loop. So they get caught in this positive feedback loop like I did. Hey, this feels pretty good. Everybody's telling me thank you. They like me. And so you want to do more of it. And then you do more of it, and they tell you thank you again. And then pretty soon it's great. It's a great feeling. And we need to get more legislators and policymakers into that positive feedback loop, especially early on in their career. Because when you're first elected, you're not sure. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to mess up and not get reelected. You don't want to do the wrong thing. You're feeling all the pressure. And so we need to stay close to our friends, stay close to people who support our values. And I use to stay close metaphorically, social media, email, telephone. One of the greatest moments I have is in the supermarket. People will come up to me, even though I'm not in office anymore, and they'll tell me thank you for something I've done years ago. And that feels pretty darn good. And so we need to share that with our other friends in office. And there's a lot of really good people serving in public office. We had a few of them on our show. Representative Kim Iwamoto, Representative Amy Peruso, U.S. Representative Chiltakura, and who I believe are doing the right thing. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect. No candidate will pass a purity test. But those three and many others are doing good work, and we need to reinforce that. And there's others who may not be as aggressive sometimes as we'd like to see it, but they'll vote the right way when the crunch comes, and they deserve our support.
Yeah, and when they do vote the right way, or when a lawmaker who normally maybe not is on their side, but does do something right, you need to tell them that you appreciate that. Thank you so much for saying that. We appreciate it. We're watching you. We want to root for you. We want to be on your team. Do more things like that, and you'll gain our support.
That's right. And we need to tell our friends, because we all have networks, and it's a numbers game. If I tell 10 people and they tell 10 people, then all of a sudden you got a wave you're building. And so don't discount I think that's one of the biggest lessons I'd like to share with people today. Don't discount your power. I'm just one person. Nobody knows me. My email doesn't matter. It's not true. Your email does matter. You have friends and neighbors. You got family. So use your networks. If you're on social media, like and share. And don't be afraid to share your values. I use the coming out metaphor from the LGBTQ community. But come out on issues. I found a long time ago, I started talking about, well, we all deserve a living wage, right? If somebody works a job for full time, they deserve a wage that's going to put food on their table and pay for the rent. That's a living wage. And that's not a radical concept. And when you talk about it, other people say, yeah, that's right. I agree with that. But if you hold, so when you talk about some of these concepts, when you come out on these concepts, then it empowers other people to come out on these concepts as well. And Eldridge Cleaver says, a famous radical activist from some years ago, said that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so that 32% that's voting, that 70% that's not voting, is a huge part of the problem. And the question is, how do we get them to vote? So we're trying to educate. We're doing that now. And how else could we? Oh, I had an idea. Here's an idea. Tell me what you think, Ari. I'll surprise you with this one.
Okay.
So a lot of people talk about initiative and referendum. So in California and other places, citizens can go out and get signatures and put an issue on the ballot. So usually it would be an issue that the legislators aren't willing to pass, either marriage equality or cannabis legalization or some relatively controversial issue. But they can get the signatures and put it on the ballot. And then the citizens then vote, could pass it or not pass it. But it drives people to the polls. So people who are only interested or primarily interested in that one issue will show up to vote for that one issue. So we could get county issues on the ballot, because the counties have initiative and referendum. Every county, the state can't do it, but you can put issues on the ballot that are county governed issues and get signatures, put them on the ballot. They have to apply with county law. They could be environmental issues, land use issues, get them on the ballot, and that would cause people to turn out.
So Maui County did that in 2016 or 2014, 2016.
Somewhere around then, and that's one of the reasons we started the Kuleana Academy, was after that. The people of Maui, this blew me away when I think about it. The people of Maui, a small group, relatively small group, got together and said, let's do this. And they put together a ballot initiative that basically said Monsanto had to prove their safety in order to operate. So GMO companies, chemical companies couldn't operate on Maui County without proving that they were safe. That's a real short summary of the bill, of the law. And that was on the ballot, and the people of Maui voted to pass it. Okay, the population of Maui majority said, yeah, we agree. Later, unfortunately, the courts threw it out. But that showed that the people are interested in doing those kinds of so-called progressive issues, doing the right thing. So if there was some county initiatives, then that would get people to the polls. It could be county initiatives that impact culture, tourism, land use, that are important to people. Could be could be anything. I thought about the increased militarization of the islands. It's hard to pass a law governing the military from a state and county, but you might be able to pass a law governing county roads and prohibit the transportation of explosives or those kinds of materials on county roads without a special permit. Yeah, so that's just kind of out of the box thinking, and we need some attorneys smarter than I am to think about what those initiatives might be. But that was a thought I had.
We have a question in the chat. It says, Aloha, Ari and Gary, are online petitions effective? And I can speak to that from an organizer perspective, that they are helpful in terms of gathering names, gathering emails from people that care about a certain issue, and rallying them around a cause. Now, a petition that has maybe 2,000, 5,000 names, it's hard to filter out where those names are actually coming from. You get zip codes, so you kind of know where they are. They can fill out the district information if you want to. They might be registered voters or they might not be. You don't really know. But you can use that to empower them to take action on other items. Delivering those to lawmakers, not so effective. It's not an official petition. Like, it's not a ballot initiative like Gary was talking about. But it is helpful in terms of an organizing perspective. And if you do collect names and collect petitions and you want to display that for a lawmaker to see how many people you have, first of all, make sure you have good enough numbers. And second of all, make sure you have those zip codes on there so they know where these people are coming from.
That's what I was going to say with the district. So if you're able to gather a petition targeted by district or by county or by island, if it's that island specific or county specific or district specific issue, that makes a huge difference. So I would encourage that. And it's what I call I refer sometimes to a hierarchy of influence. I just lost everybody on my screen here. There we go. So if it's a petition with California names on it, I'm not to pick on California, but names from everywhere, then it's just a bunch of names. But if it's a county of Kauai issue and they're all Kauai names, then that makes a huge difference. And yes, it's a powerful statement. And if it's a statewide, so it depends. But I would say it's a good organizing tool. And if you could identify those names by district and deliver them to the representatives of those districts, it's also a good tool to use. More important would be all of those people in that district individually calling and emailing and saying, I live in your district and this issue is important to me. I saw another question about promoting indivisiblecauai.org. I think there's indivisibles on every island, I think, and coming up on there's going to be some protest gatherings on every island. And so Indivisible is a great resource to find out the schedule and the location, that kind of thing.
Indivisible is doing a lot of work around sending postcards to the mainland to encourage people to get out the vote. That's another really effective way to use your time. If you're feeling, a little bit hopeless, feeling like you're not really sure what you're supposed to be doing right now, writing those postcards and getting out those messages, especially if you care a lot about national issues, that's a great place to get started. Yeah.
And so, again, there's a hierarchy of influence. If you want to have the most influence, you'd be. So I ask people, Ari already knows the answer. Who's the most? I'm the senator. What person has the most influence on me? What person? Right. My wife, and then my daughter, and my son, and my family, and my neighbors. So it's the people closest to the candidate, the people that help the candidate. So if you're my campaign manager, again, I'm not going to break my principles or go to jail for you. But if you ask me to look into something or you ask me, whatever, I'll do what I can. And so if you get involved in a campaign, if you live in the district and you communicate with your legislator regularly, civilly and nicely, and maybe you write letters every once in a while, then your stock goes up because they want your support. And petition names are on that hierarchy of influence, but they're kind of far down. But every name matters from the people in the district. I just cannot emphasize that enough. And I would also say when you're communicating in general with an email or letter, I always put the courtesy of a response is appreciated. I ask them to respond. And then if I don't get a response within a week or 10 days, I'll send them another one myself. This is just Gary Hooser. And I'll say, well, I know my email probably got lost, but if you could check again and let me know what you think about this issue. And again, courteous. And on some of these issues, you need to be more informed. Sometimes you can rely on the organization, the Sierra Club, or the Common Cause, or the ACLU. But in some of them, you need to do your homework yourself. And then they take your advice and your testimony and your counsel more seriously. So that's where you start. And again, it matters. It makes a difference. And the world is going to hell in a handbasket, as they say. We have sea levels rising. We got people dying, kids and innocent people all over the world in various wars. We've got people living under bridges and under cardboard boxes. And we have to get more serious about our role and our responsibility in this whole thing. So I encourage people to really, it matters, your voice matters, and don't ever hesitate to reach out to me directly if you want to talk more. Or I forgot to say, GaryHooser.com. If you go to GaryHooser.com and you subscribe, on the main screen it'll say subscribe. Hit the subscription button and you'll go on my email list. I promise not to send you junk. And I don't ask for money for myself. Sometimes I encourage you to support other candidates. And when I'm in Honolulu, I sometimes speak to groups and individuals and meet. And I'd be happy to meet with you if you're serious about getting more involved.
I have a bullet point here that says, how do you stay motivated when it feels like nothing's changing? And, I was trying to think about how to get that conversation started, but actually things are changing. We just got news over the weekend, TMT was defunded. And I have no doubt in my mind that if it wasn't for everyone who stood on Mauna Kea for that entire year, all summer long, that they would have not lost their money. There's no doubt about it. The pressure and the pushback of the community, rejecting the TMT, saying that no more, it absolutely made a difference and things have changed.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And, there's two kinds of motivation for me. I have grandchildren, and when my grandchildren get old enough, when they say, "Where were you, Grandpa? Where were you in 2025 when the world was going to hell, or before? What did you do to make the world a better place?" I could look them in the eye and tell them. So that's one motivation. The other is I actually see good stuff happening, like the TMT issue, like Pohakuloa. That was unheard of in some ways for the Board of Land and Natural Resources to say no. And it wouldn't have happened without people showing up. Okay, it would not have happened. The EIS was flawed, it was faulty, but the board could have said, well, it's flawed and faulty, but nobody's perfect, so we're going to pass it anyway. But they couldn't say that in the face of all those people, young and old, and so-called experts and lawyers and legislators, but rank and file students, teachers, homemakers, farmers, carpenters. They could not otherwise. They had to do what they had to do because people showed up. And so I was inspired by that. I've seen many things over my time in public office and in public advocacy that wouldn't have happened without people stepping up. And that's what motivates me, so I encourage people. It's necessary. It can be fun, and it can be very, very fulfilling. I can tell the story about the old people and the teeth. When I was first elected to the Senate, I served 4 years in the council, And then I ran for the state Senate, and I won. And that was a huge move for me, representing Kauai and Niihau. And as a state senator, uh, whatever role you play, people want to meet with you. So I had a group meet with me on Kauai of older people who belonged to this organization that it was like a clubhouse where in the daytime they would meet. They're in their 80s or 90s or 70s maybe. And they would meet there and they'd try to do job training and they basically try to get back on their feet. And they came to me and they said, Senator, we need your help. And I said, well, what can I do? Tell me what I can do. And they said, we need teeth. We need help with our teeth. And I said, what do you mean? And they're talking to me like this. I said, Senator, we need your help. And I did not know it at the time, but Medicare and Medicaid does not cover the replacement of teeth. It provides some dental care, but it doesn't replace teeth. To replace a tooth costs you $1,000 to $1,500. And these folks had lost their teeth. They're old, and they stayed home because they don't want to go outside. They're embarrassed. They're missing 4 teeth in the front. They don't have $6,000 to get new teeth. They can't get a job anywhere without teeth. They don't laugh. They talk like this. And so I was able, my first year in the Senate, to go out and get a small amount of money as a grant to a community health center here on Kauai, and got 12 people new teeth that without exaggeration changed their lives. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget it. And those folks used to come up, sometimes still do, their children do, come up to me and thank me, and they'll smile. And it changed their lives, And so those kinds of things are above and beyond climate change and wars and all kind of things. Those are helping individual people up close and personal. And that's inspiration for me. And that's one of the reasons I kept doing and continue doing the work I do. Imagine if we could get teeth for everybody. Imagine instead of cutting Medicaid, like the Trump administration's doing, and throwing millions of low-income people and families under the bus with their health care. Imagine instead of doing that, we taxed the very rich and provided proper health care for everybody, including dental care. Imagine the changing the lives of all these people. What a great accomplishment that would be. And we can do that. We just have to all get involved. We can do it as a state, quite frankly. There are individual states that have their own state healthcare programs. So we could do it as a state. I'll give a shout out to the legislature this year, too, of the lunch program. There was a significant expansion of free lunches for low-income elementary or public school students, as well as the green fee was another major accomplishment. But that wouldn't happen. The free lunches certainly wouldn't happen without the hard work of a lot of people. That's my story. Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Yeah, the green fee and the school lunches are 2 big wins that we saw at the state lunch this year, and they should definitely be celebrated. I think the school lunch bill was signed on Friday. There's a little bit of flack going around social media about the green fee, aka the tourist fee, which I only heard it referred to as the tourist fee when Brenton Awa posted his video. But I think it's such a nominal part of the bills that we pay as Kama'aina if we go on a staycation or travel inter-island. And I know people are grumbling because inter-island travel is unavoidable when we live in an island chain, and it's necessary, especially those on the neighbor islands that have to come to Oahu for business, medical care. But it's such a small percentage compared to the amount of tourists that come here and spend their dollars every single day. And it's going to go for something that's really necessary, is protecting us from this climate impact.
That's right. And the visitor industry can cough up a little more Kama'aina discounts. They already normally do that, but they can do it more. Representative Iwamoto mentioned this, I think, last time, or I saw her mention it at some talk she gave. We should operate from a perspective of abundance, not scarcity. There is no shortage of funding capacity in the state of Hawaii if we reached out, if by we, our policymakers at the state and county level, reached out and got it. There's never been a hotel that I'm aware of that's ever left Hawaii because taxes were too high. We're not going to see Bill Gates or Zuckerberg or whoever leave because they raise their taxes. There are empty, multi-zillion dollar units everywhere. We operate from a place of abundance and not scarcity. There's money to do the things we need to do. We just need to be bold enough to go out and get it. With the Trump administration doing all their cutbacks, we're going to need to get real on that, because we cannot sit aside and watch our public education systems, our parks, our hospitals, and other vital institutions go downhill because they're not getting their federal money. We got to fight for our federal money, but at the same time we got to supplement that with state income. If the very richest people are having their taxes cut by the federal government, our state needs to step up and raise the taxes an equivalent amount at least to replace those funds, in my opinion. But it won't happen without people, getting involved and people holding our legislators accountable. So that's one thing I've been doing, is beating the drum for all county, state, and federal, to asking them to step up and speak out and stand up for against the Trump administration and what they're doing. They have to speak out for justice. We're getting ICE is running around arresting people here like they is everywhere else. People's budgets are being cut, and we need to say it's not right. Even if they weren't after us, what they're doing around our planet is immoral. And we need to stand up and speak out. We can't keep our heads down hoping that we stay out of the spotlight, in my opinion. I know it's easy for me to be an armchair quarterback here on my beautiful island of Kauai, but I feel very strongly that our leaders, I'll use that term broadly, Aria, our leaders like you and me, and leaders, elected leaders, public advocacy, nonprofit leaders, leaders holding public office, and people with voices need to raise them up. So I appreciate all the people that are doing that already.
It's going to be really important, especially with the special sessions that are coming up this next couple months. They are rumored to be focused. We don't have the agenda yet. We don't know exactly what it's going to be on, but it's rumored to be addressing some of the federal cutbacks and hopefully coming up with creative revenue streams for us to collect some of that money back, because there's no like you said, there's no shortage of money to be collected, money to be made. Hawaii is a hot commodity, and we should be able to tax people appropriately and come up with creative ways to get that revenue, to give people healthcare, give people houses.
And the public voice gives our friends and those legislators who want to do the right thing cover, because they want to do it anyway. And if the public is clamoring for it, then it's easier for them to do it. And against those that are saying, no, there's too much taxes, there's too much taxes. And to be clear, we don't need to raise taxes on local working families. There's plenty of the top 10%, or plenty of absentee owners and plenty of international corporations who are not paying their fair share. They should be paying their fair share first and foremost. Should we talk about the Democratic Party for a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or political parties in general?
Yeah, should we be joining political parties?
We have to. It's like, there's people, you see people on social media bashing the government in general. And it's like, well, that's all we have. It's a government that's in place. Unless you have something to replace it with, it's viable, then we have to participate. We have to make it the best we can. The same with political parties, in my opinion. Right now, Hawaii is dominated by the Democratic Party. And the Republican Party, though, is growing. And there's a Green Party, and there's other parties in the wings as well. There's no secret that I'm a former vice chair of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. You also, I think, have served as a party officer.
Yep.
And we're both members of the party. I'm not that active. I follow it and support it. I think it's important for people. A couple of things, real quick. Just because you vote Democrat doesn't mean you're a member of the party. Number one, you have to actually join the party. So you'd go to whatever party you want to join. You go to the Democratic Party of Hawaii website and you join to be part of the party itself. Just voting is not enough. And if you look at the Democratic Party platform, it's pretty good. It talks about living wage. It talks about healthcare for all. It has a lot of really good. Correct me, Aria, if I'm wrong on this stuff, but it's got a lot of really good stuff.
Gary, I just wanted to ask, who writes the platform? Is it the governor, the state, the senators? Are they the ones that are setting the agenda for the party?
Absolutely not. It's the people that show up at the party convention and the people that show up in the precinct meetings. And that's where the problem is. It's the same problem that we started talking about. 31% of the people vote. 31% of registered voters vote. There's even far less than that participate in the party. So people will slam and shred the party, but they're not actually members of the party, and they don't show up either. Here on Kauai, and I think it's true statewide, if I would go to a precinct meeting or a district meeting, party meeting, if we're lucky, there'll be a dozen people there. 20 maybe at the most, sometimes 5. And there's 5 or 6 or 7 seats that need to be filled. So if I'm motivated and bring 5 of my friends, I can take over the district. But people, for whatever reason, have chosen not to participate. The party's at fault to a great extent by not taking more seriously, in my opinion, their responsibilities to organize communities. But during the convention, which happens once a year, every other year, every 2 years, they set the platform. I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
And so you can be part of that process. You can set the platform. And then if the party that I would want to see, and I hope party people are watching, is a party that holds Democrats accountable. Doesn't dictate what candidates should do or legislators should do. Not a top-down telling people what to do, but when legislators violate the party platform or vote on things or champion issues contrary to the platform, the party needs to call them out, in my opinion.
I've been involved with the Democratic Party very seriously since 2012. I was chair of the Young Democrats of Kauai. I was on the executive board of Young Democrats of Hawaii, and then joined the executive board of the Democratic Party in Hawaii in 2020 under the chairmanship of Tyler DeSantos Tam, who I got to know with the Young Democrats. And I have seen the wave of change that's happened from when the Bernie vote came in 2018 until now. We absolutely have the authority. We surveyed Democratic Party candidates every single election cycle. The survey that we give out is improving significantly. Thank you to Daniel Freund, Shannon Matson, who were on the platform committee last year. I think our friend Amy Simmons is on the platform committee this year. And part of their job is to ask lawmakers and candidates, do you support this platform? And with political will from the party chair, the SCC, Democratic Party members, we can actually start calling out lawmakers who don't support the platform. The problem is political will, yes, but also we need more volunteers. We need people to help. That takes a lot of time to go through every single vote, to identify the laws and the bills that were submitted and match them up with the platform. That takes time, that takes effort, and we are all volunteers. There's only 2 people who are paid staff members of the party, and they have a lot of fish to fry that's not involved with calling out lawmakers. So if that kind of stuff excites you, please join the party and volunteer with with the party platform committee, because that's a real thing that we can do that would affect change. Another thing that we could do is to why do we join the district chairmanships? It's because they get the positions to go to the convention to set the platform agenda and to write resolutions to hold people accountable. And every 2 years, when the convention happens, we get a lot of excitement. And then unfortunately, that excitement fizzles out. And part of the problem is the party to blame, because we don't have the strong infrastructure available to recruit candidates, to recruit people, to recruit members, to keep them engaged. But also people show up to vote, but then they leave when it's time to organize for the districts. And a dirty secret that, the Democratic Party doesn't want people to know is one of the most powerful positions in the whole state is to be sitting on those district councils, because they get to pick 3 names that go to the governor during a vacancy. And that's a really powerful position to be in. And, when there's rumors going around that someone might retire or someone might be getting appointed, the Democratic establishment surely does quietly reorganize their district to make sure all those positions are filled with their friends so they can put that name forward.
So that reason alone is a good reason to join the party and be part of that district council. So, and there are a lot of legislators in our state Senate, certainly, and in the House, who are getting on and will be retiring or could retire. We have U.S. senators. U.S. Senator Mazie Hirono is going to retire at some point in the not too distant future, whether she does it in between or not. And so, yeah, it's important. This is kind of contrary, Aria, to the conventional wisdom that the Democratic Party controls everything, and so they should be blamed for everything. And so I'm not speaking nationally. I've been to the national convention, but in terms of Hawaii, and I think most states, the candidates themselves are independent. The party doesn't control candidates. It doesn't even support the candidates unless there's a contested race in the general, I suppose. But in the primary, they don't. And our challenge is getting the elected office holders to support the values of the party and how proactive should the party be. I'll give a shout out. The chair of the party today did, I believe, issue a public statement expressing disappointment on Congressman Case's save vote, I believe. And there was one other issue, I think. They pretty strong statements. And Congressman Case was also admonished by a prior chair. But it started with a citizen or a member of the party drafting a resolution and moving forward. But we can be much more. I talk to people, it's a brand. So if you want to get elected in Hawaii, the Democratic brand is more electable in most districts. That's just a fact. Regardless of what you believe and your values are, holding that brand it's more electable. And if you were McDonald's and you had the brand, McDonald's would require you to operate a certain way, right? You have to have certain menu and certain cleanliness levels, et cetera, et cetera. And so the party could enforce its brand. If you want the party brand, if you want to run with a D, then you need to, at the minimum, support the party platform. I know the Green Party has been struggling and trying to gain traction. I've got friends on the Green Party and admire the work that they do. And then there's a Libertarian Party. Thanks, Thomas Brandt, for some of your posting on the side here. No Labels. And so there's other parties also. And I know there's advocates, people I respect and work with, who want to throw away the Democratic Party and build a new one and replace it. And that could be done, but it takes a whole lot of work. It's a statewide network. And in my opinion, as we sit here today, and I'm open to the conversation, as we sit here today, we've already got a network. We've already got a good platform. We just need to have more people step up, like more people vote, more people testify, more people get involved in the party.
I would say that, for anyone who doesn't know if they're a Democratic Party member or not and you're interested, please sign up and join. You never know when you're going to get the alert to come join a precinct meeting for some reorganization. There's always positions that need to be filled. There's always empty seats at the convention, and we need your voice and we want you to participate, please. But as a Democrat, I want to say that I support ranked choice voting and I support open primaries. I'd like to move to a policy where the top 2 vote getters get moved to the general. So whether that be 2 Democrats, Republican Democrat, Republican Green Party, wherever the top 2 vote getters, I think should move to the general. I would like to see that in terms for our state personally. But but will only happen if we get better Democrats in office who would also support that moving forward, because this is the state of the world that we're in right now. And to change policies going to be affected tomorrow and next year and the couple 2 years. The Democratic Party is where it's at, and it's not that bad. I do want to give a shout out. I saw Lynn Robinson Anderko on our chat earlier. She's the newly elected Oahu County Party chair. If anyone, party insiders know that the past couple years have been a little bit rough on Oahu County, and Lynn is such a bright beacon of hope for everyone. She's so warm and welcoming. She has no political agenda, but just to bring people together and to do the work of the party. I just volunteered with her on Friday at the Glenita Golf Tournament. It's a golf tournament that the Democrats put on with the unions. And she's just wonderful. She's lovely. I encourage everyone to get to know her if she's on Oahu, if you're on Oahu.
Right on. Good one. I'll echo those comments, Lynn. Thank you, Aria. And again, it's about showing up, and we got to do more than just sit around the table and moan and groan and bang on Democrats and bang on the policymakers and blame our problems on other people. We gotta show up. Got to show up at the party, whichever party you choose. Just show up and be part of it. Raise your hand. I use that metaphor. Raise your hand and volunteer for stuff. And I found it fulfilling. It's good. You meet people, you make friends. It's a community, and God knows we need more community, more interaction with each other as human beings. And I found my time in the political world has been fun. Met a lot of good people like Aria, and many others who are doing good work, helping the people on the planet make it a better place. So
I
want to go ahead.
A couple of action items that are coming up this next couple weeks. We have a few action items that I wanted to share with you. The first one would be on Wednesday, June 4th at the state capitol. The ACLU is holding a rally. Like I said, reimagining public safety. They're submitting a petition to Governor Green to ask him not to move forward building the mega jail. And that information about the rally can be found at bit.ly/RPS rally. And that's Wednesday, June 4th at the state capitol. Also Wednesday, there's the Sierra Club is having their legislative recap to go over the past legislative cycle to share about the bills that they were supporting and things that they won, things that they lost. So that is Wednesday, June 4th at 6 p.m. and it's a virtual event.
I want to just shout out the Sierra Club. They've been doing some amazing work. They have probably for years since I was first started. They're the gold standard for environmental advocacy, and with the Red Hill and the water issues around the state, and now with Pohakaloa, they really are play a key role. And I've attended recently some of their webinars. And I'm a busy guy too, like everybody else. I'm busy, but the webinar is relatively pain-free. You get on there and you can hear and listen and ask questions. without stress, because you're usually not on the screen. So big shout out to them. And ACLU. Carrie Ann Shirota has been doing fabulous work, and with the coalition, and that's really how the big battles are won, with coalitions. Right now, there's this huge amounts of money being spent, or proposed to be spent on new prisons, and it's just mind blowing to think that the state is thinking about spending all this money on locking more people up, when most of the people in jail right now are awaiting trial, and they're people because they can't afford bail. They're poor people, and instead of investing in mental health and drug treatment, and in halfway houses and in homeless shelters, we're seriously contemplating on spending upwards to $1 billion on a new prison. So hats off to ACLU and the other organizations that are behind that.
And sometimes things are just not sexy, not exciting. I asked a couple of our friends that serve on the county councils, hey, what's going on in the next couple of weeks? What's going on? Our friend, Councilmember Jen Kajiwada, they're working on the budget right now. Budgets are, for me personally, not very exciting. I rarely pay attention to them. But this was a great reminder that there are awesome things that we need support and help for people to do. So she's proposing 2 amendments to the budget that the mayor has put forward. One is for food security, $2 million for funds for Food Basket, Malama the Farmer, and other programs like that for food security. So they're looking for testimony to support that amendment. The second one is $4 million to the Office of Housing and Community Development, which would support public affordable housing production. This last year, they had $9 million in the budget. And this year, they're only proposing $5 million, which we all know in this day and age, with all of the housing needs that people have, it's just not going to be sufficient. So Jen asked if you live on Hawaii County to please submit council testimony at hawaiicounty.gov. But something that is sexy and very exciting, Maui County has their short-term rental ban coming up soon. It's not on the agenda yet. It's maybe set for the end of the month, but I really encourage people to pay attention. All eyes are going to be on Maui County if they're able to push forth that short-term rental ban.
Maui County has done some phenomenal work in the past. Maui County Council, they have created their own county office of agriculture department. When they really want to focus on local food production, they've done that. They took one of my things that gets me going is the counties historically spend money on tourism promotion. They have every county, I think, has a tourism director or something. And Maui, I think a couple of years ago, it's been a few years, said that, wait a second, why are we spending money promoting tourism when the hotel should be, and so they took, I believe, $4 million from the tourism budget, county tourism budget, and made it as grants for small farmers. So stuff like that can be done with the right people in public office and the right community support. One budget item, since we're talking budgets, it's something I learned early on. I forget who told me their lesson, but I was told, Gary, when they tell you there's no money, so everybody out there, when the policymakers, whether it's a governor or legislators, council members, mayor, when they say, oh, there's no money for that, when they tell you there's no money, what they're really saying is it's not a priority. That's what they're really saying. There's money for Aloha Stadium. There's money for this prison. Why isn't there money for all this other stuff that we need? Because the public needs to speak out and ask for it and demand it. No, so we've got some good stuff happening around the state that needs support. I'm not looking at our bullet points, but we've had a great conversation. I want to remind anybody that's just tuning in, you're welcome to put a question in the chat. That's a YouTube chat. I'm not sure about the Facebook chat. We're probably not seeing those. Are they all the same?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But lesson number one, get involved. It makes a difference. And know who represents you. Know the name of your state representative, your state senator, your council member, and your congressional people who you vote for, who's in your district, because you're the one most important to them. And believe and know that your email and your phone calls make a difference. And they do to me too. So feel free to reach out. You can message me on Facebook. You can go to Gary L. Hooser at Gmail. That's my Gmail account. And if I could help you, you want to talk story, that kind of thing. I'm get a little bit behind on my emails because I got quite a big list, but I read every single one of them. And to get on my list, go to GaryHooser.com. And there's a subscribe button. Hit subscribe and sign up for my email list. We got yeah, it's good. Anything else we got going there?
Follow your nonprofits that you align with. We listed a couple. I'll include them all in the show notes. Really important to stay involved that way, stay informed. And they usually probably partner with other organizations, smaller pages as well. So go ahead and just follow those all along. There's small creators who are doing amazing things. One of my friends, Stacy, I don't remember her last name. I want to find her Instagram handle right now. But she's been doing a lot of information about the Maui County Council and Maui Planning Department. Her Instagram is justactually, just.actually. And she's kind of taken on this social media experiment of just sharing what's going on in the Maui County Council, what's going on in Maui Planning Commission, and just sharing what is going on, sharing talking points and testimony and kind of recaps. And it's extremely helpful and awesome. So please, I would love for you guys to all follow and support her work. And other people who are doing that work, like you and I, trying to get the word out and sharing what's going on to make it a little bit less intimidating for people to jump in.
Yeah, and share and like those social media posts. Again, that spreads the word even more. And I mean, I try my best to keep abreast of issues, but there are too many for me, and I work hard at it. But I rely on the Sierra Club of Hawaii, ACLU of Hawaii, and I rely on them and have complete confidence in the work they do, as well as HAPA and others. And so if they do a action alert that says, we need help, I do what I can to help them, because they have staff that are doing the research that won't steer us wrong. I know that for a fact. I've been in this a long time. And I've relied on those kinds of folks and those folks for good, solid information, for good data, and timely alerts. So it's important that we support the work that they're doing.
Good
I'm not looking at.
Conversation.
Pardon me.
Good conversation tonight.
Yeah, it is good. Our schedule now is doing this every 2 weeks, and we may or may not have special guests. I think we have 2 special guests. The 2 of us tonight, I think, covered a lot of really good territory, and sometimes we'll drill down into subject matter data, whether it's water or tourism or military or Trump. And sometimes, like tonight, I think we'll do basically Advocacy 101 and then graduate up. I'd like to talk sometime in the near future about the next level, because tonight we talked mostly about contacting the representative who represents you. Once you get into the process more, you become familiar with the various committees. And so your legislator may not sit on the Agriculture Committee, for example. So maybe there's an issue on agriculture that's important to you. Still, my advice is still let your district person know to support or oppose that particular measure, however you feel, even if they're not on the committee, because they'll have to vote for that later. And then the next level of education, if you would be to how do we address most effectively the committee process? Because usually that agriculture committee will only be one of maybe three committees that are hearing the bill. But we can talk about that more in the future. Talk about the power structure. You know, is the Senate president or the speaker, are they really call all the shots or not? Who are the most powerful people uh, in the legislative body, or the most influential people? But I think for now, for today, for most of us, that person is the person who represents you. Get to know them. I can't overemphasize that enough. That's what I got. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Sounds good. So, are we gonna have a special guest next week, or in two? I guess our next one is in 2 weeks. We should be streaming live on Facebook by then. Thankfully, we'll be around for 60 days. That was the rule that they gave us. You have to be live for 60 days to be able to stream live on Facebook.
Okay, so we can think about if people want to, they can post on Facebook Policy and Politics page and maybe make suggestions. Can they do that?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, or send us messages on that too, probably.
I'd love to know who people want to hear from, questions they want to be asked. I know a lot of people are really, really fed up with the federal administration, really concerned about what's going on nationally. I'm more concerned about what's going on locally, but we can talk about both, obviously.
Yeah, and if there are anybody watching or who might want to be a guest, you can reach out to us also and let us know. The Trump administration versus local. I think. Thank you for bringing that up, and we can close on that. I think it's important. The think local, think global, and act local would be my advice. We know this stuff coming down the pike with the Trump administration is going to affect everything, and so we should look locally at how we're going to deal with that. We should say, in my opinion, no to the military lease expansion. Just say no. We're not going to do it. We're not going to be part of this war machine. We're not going to be part of Hegseth and all these crazinesses going on. Say no. And we need to up our tax rates. You know, so we need to act locally, but we need to think globally. And it's frustrating because we want to impact the global or the national level, and we can, and we are. We can, if we successfully said no to military expansion in Hawaii, that would be a national message, an international message that would reverberate around the world. And I believe in a strong defense. I want to say, for the record, my father came to Hawaii, a military brat. My father's retired. I've got relatives and good friends serving in the service. We need a strong defense. I'm not arguing that. I'm not a pacifist. If somebody hits me, I hit them back. But enough is enough. But we need to set an example and push back against the Trump administration by setting an example here in Hawaii.
No King's Day, Day of Defiance, Saturday, June 14th. Every island, well, Oahu, Maui, Hawaii Island, Kauai, I think they're all having individual actions that day. So Indivisible_Hawaii on Instagram is a great place to find all of the different protests that are happening to resist the Trump administration.
And I'll be there, that's for sure. I would encourage everybody to think about your actions and echo what you want to see in the world. Don't echo what the Trump administration is doing. Think about peaceful protests. Think about love and aloha. Think about equality, and resist the language of harm. I've seen some stuff on social media that is shocking, and I get angry also. But we have to resist, in my opinion, some of that language. But yeah, let's go out. I'll be there, and with a smile on and my sign, no kings.
I just wanted to commend Kauai. Indivisible is not calling their protest No Kings Rally. I don't know what are they being, what is it being called? I'm not sure, but it's not being referred to as no kings, because I think that's a little bit disrespectful when it comes
No
to
dictators, it says here.
no dictators.
Yeah.
Awesome. 9/11.
Please omit no kings in honor of King Kamehameha Day. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
I like
Okay.
that. I just want to close on Happy Pride Month. I think that in these certain times, it's definitely very important for us to celebrate and recognize LGBTQ families and all of the incredible, amazing work that they are doing for themselves and for us. Because if they're not safe, we're not safe.
Right on.
All right.
Appreciate
Have a
that.
good night,
Okay.
Gary.
Was another good evening, Aria Juliet Castillo,
Nice to
and
see
all
you.
the that have joined us online. It was a good conversation, and aloha and a hui ho.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.